All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Well, folks, Super Bowl weekend is upon us. And of course, this is the 57th edition of the big game taking place in Glendale, Arizona. It's down to the Philadelphia Eagles, the champions of the NFC, and the Kansas City Chiefs of the AFC. Kansas City is looking to win their third Super Bowl championship in franchise history, while Philadelphia is looking to win their second. And of course, both of these organizations have recently won Super Bowls. You go back to Super Bowl number 52, where Philadelphia was victorious over the New England Patriots. And then you go back to Super Bowl number 54, where Kansas City got the best of the San Francisco 49ers. But pretty soon, it's going to be time to put the talk to bed, and it's going to be time to get it on Sunday evening out in the desert. And who has what it takes to win Super Bowl number 57? Of course, both of these teams want to leave Glendale in possession of the coveted Vince Lombardi Trophy, but only one is going to do it. Some people are calling this the Andy Reid Bowl. Of course, Andy Reid, the current head coach of the Chiefs, prior to taking over in Kansas City, he was the head coach for a very long time with the Philadelphia Eagles, which included helping the Eagles reach the Super Bowl at the conclusion of the 2004 season. Now, for Kansas City, will Patrick Mahomes get his second Super Bowl championship in the last 4 years? Of course, this is Mahomes' third trip to the Super Bowl. He helped Kansas City get there against and Super Bowl 54 when they beat the Niners, and the Chiefs were looking to repeat in 2020, and that was not the case as they fell short against the Tampa Bay Bucks in the big game. Now, of course, you're talking about Patrick Mahomes. You're talking about the man who is the reigning NFL MVP. Also, on top of that, the health of one Patrick Mahomes. He had that high ankle sprain against the Jacksonville Jaguars, gutted it out in the AFC Championship game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and now he'll have an additional 2 weeks to get that ankle as healthy as possible for the big game. And his health is going to be important because Mahomes is going up against a ferocious pass rush that the Philadelphia Eagles bring to the table. Philadelphia had 70 sacks this season, and they have a litany of bodies that can get after the quarterback. You're talking about Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick, Jason Hargrave, Josh Sweat, and Ndamukong Suh. And when you have that many quality pass rushers, it gives you the opportunity to keep somebody fresh, keep fresh guys going out there and rushing the passer. And that's going to be important because I feel like in the AFC Championship game, the Cincinnati Bengals did not do a good enough job as far as heating up Patrick Mahomes. You know that he's out there on one leg. You got to go out there and dial up the pressure on every single play. Cincinnati didn't do it enough. I think Philadelphia is going to do it more. And if you go back to the previous two Super Bowls for Kansas City, both 54 and 55, both San Francisco and Tampa Bay did a good job as far as bringing the pressure on Mahomes. The 49ers were able to create a lot of pressure with their front four. Tampa, with that cover two, really changed things. And of course, what happened in Super Bowl 54, the fact that the Niners could not close the door, it allowed Kansas City to come back and win that game. However, the flip side, when they faced Tampa Bay, that was not the case. When you think about Patrick Mahomes, you think about his security blanket in this offense and one tight end, Travis Kelsey. It's going to be on the Eagle linebackers and their safeties. They cannot allow Kelsey to get a rhythm and get going because if you watch Kelsey play, he basically just sits at the chains and then he'll get you 10 yards. And then before you know it, that 10-yard catch is a 25-yard catch. So it's going to be very important for the Eagle linebackers and safeties to find a way to neutralize Travis Kelsey. You think about this Eagle secondary with the likes of Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and Chauncey Gardner Johnson. Will they be able to slow down the Kansas City receivers? And you think about it, they don't have the star power back there at receiver like they have in years past with the likes of Tyreek Hill. But these guys are still darn good. And so I think it's really going to be important once again for this Eagle defensive line to get going early and really disrupt things for this Kansas City offense. And this is going to be a test for the Eagles because this is by far is hands down going to be the best quarterback that the Eagles have faced so far. I mean, Daniel Jones looked like the Daniel Jones that he's been for the majority of his career in the divisional round when the Eagles beat the Giants. And then, of course, Brock Purdy going out early in the NFC Championship game in San Francisco had to turn to Josh Johnson. And at that point, you knew that San Fran just needed to throw in the towel. But nonetheless, for the Kansas City defense, will their defensive line be able to disrupt the flow of this Eagles offense? And that's going to be important. We know about what Chris Jones and Frank Clark can do as far as getting after the passer. I think Frank Clark and Chris Jones are going to have to play the games of their respective careers to go out there and disrupt this offense because you think about it, Philly has so much talent at the skill positions. At wide receiver, yes, but their bread and butter is running the football, and you have to find a way if you are Kansas City to slow down that run game, neutralize it, keep them in second and third and long situations, and make Jalen Hurts have to commit to being a pocket passer as much as possible to beat you. Now, in regards to Jalen Hurts, the Eagles quarterback, will he be able to run some more in this game? Of course, Hurts missed time coming down the stretch of the regular season with the shoulder injury. Had the additional week due to the fact that Philly had home field throughout, so they got the first round bye to get that shoulder right. He was still a little tentative against the Giants, still a little tentative against the Niners. But now, just like Mahomes, you've had an additional 2 weeks. It would not surprise me to see Hurts get one, maybe two or three good runs in this contest. When I say good runs for 15 yards and more, but even with that, he's still not being as aggressive because he is slowing down before and taking a knee before the contact gets to him. But I'm talking about this Eagles running game, and you look at the three-headed monster: Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell. And Boston Scott is one of those guys where he's a big game runner. You might not pay attention to him for all of the games, but he knows when the chips are pushed to the middle of the table, and he could be a factor in this game. You think about the speed and power of Miles Sanders, and you think about the power and speed of Kenneth Gainwell as well. And Philly is one of the better running teams in football. They have one of the better offensive lines in football. So that battle in the trenches between KC's defensive line and Philadelphia's offensive line is going to be imperative as far as who's going to win this game. But then you look at what Philadelphia has at wide receiver with AJ Brown. And I know that the Eagles gave the Titans a first round pick for AJ Brown last year at the draft. To me, I still think that was a steal because you're putting him with Devonta Smith. You have Dallas Goddard at tight end, and that's going to be important because these KC receivers, they focused a lot on Jamar Chase in the AFC Championship game, and rightfully so. T. Higgins had his moments, but I think, you look at it right now, this combo of Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, they are playing some lights out ball. And then if you worry about them, you still got to concentrate on Dallas Goddard. Now, one thing that Cincinnati didn't do and could not do in that game was run the football. And I think they didn't allow themselves to have balance against this Kansas City off defense, rather. I think Philadelphia will have more balance to try to keep this Kansas City pass rush honest. That's going to be important. But still, I think this game comes down to the defenses. Which defense is going to be able to disrupt the opposing offense? That is going to be imperative. And you just look at the bodies that Philadelphia can bring at you in waves as far as rushing the passer. And that's the one thing. You can never have enough pass rushers in the NFL, especially in playoff scenarios. Andy Reid versus Nick Sirianni, the two head coaches. Andy Reid, he's been there and done that, looking to get his second championship, while Nick Sirianni is looking to get his first. Of course, Nick Sirianni, once upon a time, was an assistant coach under Andy Reid, and he still appears to carry a chip on his shoulder, being that Andy Reid at one point did give him his walking papers. So let's see what happens here. Of course, the question is going to be who has the edge. For me, Kansas City has the better head coach and they have the better quarterback. But the flip side is Philadelphia has the better team. Also, Patrick Mahomes was just named NFL MVP. And it's one of those scenarios. The MVPs typically don't win in the Super Bowl. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on as well. But for me, the health of the quarterbacks, the shoulder of Jalen Hurts, the ankle of Patrick Mahomes, and then these defenses, which defense is going to be able to heat the other quarterback up? Philadelphia comes into this contest right as of right now, favored by 1.5 points. The over under on this contest is 51. I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to take Philadelphia to win Super Bowl number 57 over Kansas City by the score of 30-17. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. That is my pick for Super Bowl number 57. I hope you have an opportunity to enjoy the game, whether you're going to be at home, whether you're going to be with friends, whether you're going to be at a bar, restaurant, just having a party, whatever. But most importantly, some people I know watch the game for the commercials, the halftime show, and then you got the hardcore fans like myself who just want to sit down and focus on the contest. But nonetheless, the Super Bowl is one of the most watched televised events on a yearly basis. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care, have a good day, enjoy the game, and thanks once again for tuning in to the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.